2011 PES 업앤다운 매치!
Alright guys, welcome to the July CSL Up and Down matches.
Final day of the Up and Down matches. This is where we see who will be in our Code S in the next coming season. We have 4 players up there so far, and we're going to find the final 2 right now.
There we are.
So really exciting.
Yeah, today we've got 2 Protosses, 2 Terrans, and a Leenock.
Ooh, and a Leenock, not a Zerg, just a Leenock.
A Leenock actually is like right next to you. I don't know if you guys can see him on camera, he's right there.
Right there.
I thought he was going to look over, but the wind is actually like strangling him right now, so...
Yeah, he wants to make sure that the FOU players don't get through this season.
Yeah,
get
he does want to make sure of that.
Yeah.
So thanks to our sponsors at Pepsi,
Yep.
G-Skill, and Ola ebook.
And of course Blizzard for producing this awesome game and continuing to support esports. A lot of game developers don't do that, and it's really underrated of how much support that the game developers have given and how much that it really affects the growth of esports. So here's our results from yesterday. A bunch of interesting games. Very interesting final TBT game. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. General idea is that TBT lasts for a very long time and it's tank lines and whatever else, but that game showed that there's a lot of different flavors of TBT that we can see. Both Protoss players did lose 0-3 in yesterday's matches. A little unfortunate for them, but hopefully they can rally a bit more. The Protoss race can rally a bit more today.
Alright, so you guys probably recognize this guy. This guy is TSL aLive. He made it he made it into Code S a while ago. He's in the round of 32. Lost to Huck and Optimus Prime, of course, formerly known as Colt Prime, but his record is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Kind of surprising to see this guy in the up and down matches, but he had to play against Huck and Colt, so you know, that's a little bit less surprising.
He also changed his hair and has a little sad face going on right now. Maybe that'll help him in this gameplay.
Here's OGS Inca, the PvP master. I don't see him losing any PvPs today if he does bump into those. Of course, he lost to Curix and MVP. I'm sorry, I meant to say MC. Losing to MC is one of those things that you wouldn't expect from Inca because he's got like a 90% PvP win rate. So,
yeah, but MC also a very strong Protoss player, so there's no shame in losing to him there.
Very true.
This is MVP Keen. He's somewhat of a newer player as far as the GSL is concerned, but he's been doing extremely well. He made it all the way up into Code S after his first Code A season, but then lost to OGS Nada in TBT and OGS Supernova in TBT as well. So he might be a little weaker when he faces his Terran match today, but there's only one of them out of 4 matches, so I think he'll be in pretty good footing.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, here we have the Lean Octopus. Of course, Leenock FOU, aka FXO Leenock. He, of course, made it pretty far. He beat Dream, Yoda, and Hope Torture, but ended up falling 3-1 to Tastar, who actually went 0-3 yesterday.
Almost smiled there.
Almost. He didn't want to smile on camera. He doesn't want you guys to know that he's a really nice guy. He's like, oh, I'm not going to smile. He's like struggling.
Also one of the younger players in the GSL.
Yeah, he's really
not the youngest anymore, but definitely showing that younger players can do really well in StarCraft 2 like they were in StarCraft 1.
Here's Bonbons. He, of course, lost to Puzzle 2-0, but did edge his way over Soccer and Tails. So he played several PvPs, just didn't do as well against Puzzle. Puzzle, of course, advanced to Code S, was the champion of our Code A.
Yeah, Puzzle is also a very good PvP player, but he showed that he has a well-rounded atmosphere as well. But this is what they are fighting for, that GSL Code S medallion. There will be 2 being taken today. And then, as I said, this is the final 2 that we're going to know from the GSL tournament, but there will actually be 1 more Code S player coming in from the MLG tournament that will be happening this weekend as well.
Yes,
we'll talk more on that later, but at the moment, check out our GumTV Twitter, so at GumTV, and if you're on your mobile device, you can check it out at m.gumtv.net. If you're on an iPhone or an iPad, you can actually watch us live now through m.gumtv.net.
You absolutely should. I actually haven't tried it yet because I've been casting every day since that's happened, but I'm really interested in checking that out.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's great to show that we can get these media out to a lot of different platforms. TV is only in one spot, but by being able to broadcast on the internet, you can go to all different sort of handhelds, computers, TVs as well. So it's really nice to see esports broadening its delivery to you guys at home.
So first up, guys, we've got TSL aLive versus OGS Inca. And Inca, his PvT is not very strong, but he has shown he can take out top players like Nada in the past. He actually made it to the finals of AGSL doing just that. Of course, was taken out by Nestea in a pretty
decisive
grueling fashion, but he is a pretty strong player. I think this guy is definitely Codex material, but so is aLive.
Yeah, and both players have been in Codex at one point, so they're just trying to fight to stay back in there, get up to where they truly want to be. So the map will be on Xel'Naga Caverns. Very interesting map. It's gotten a lot of playtime since it's been introduced by Blizzard in the early beta days, actually. It wasn't one of the first maps, but it was one of the first really well-balanced maps that have stuck it through to today.
All right, guys, aLive versus Inca here at the Up and Down matches. At the top right of this Xel'Naga Cavern, we have a member of the team TSL. He's not dead, but rather the opposite.
TSL, aLive!
As you can see, he's quite alive. He's quite dangerous, actually. Down here at the bottom, a member of the team OGS. He's not an Aztec, but instead he is...
OGS Inca!
I'm going to try to do that with every player today.
I'll see how it goes. That'd be interesting if the OGS team were back with the Inca days.
That would be interesting, man. They actually played like soccer, some ancient sport.
Yeah, OGS is actually one of the better teams of the StarCraft 2 teams at soccer. So
that's true, actually. A lot of guys don't know that because there need to be more photo shoots of these soccer happenings when they go down.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be, oh, we found out they played soccer because Torch broke his nose and that was all over the internet.
Oh, we don't need to talk about that. But these teams are starting to do a lot more. Like, we hear about them only because they play StarCraft, because that's what they do. They're the best in the world at it. But they are also young people. They are real life people. They have personalities and they do a lot of different activities. And it's good to spotlight some of that stuff as well. But this probe is going to be going over and trying to spotlight TSL's or aLive's base, see exactly what's going on. Nothing out of the ordinary coming from him yet, but maybe this probe will be able to see what sort of tech pattern that aLive is going to choose.
He's going to want to try to check for a tech lab really fast, otherwise he's not going to be able to see a whole lot. He was fortunate enough to see the barracks finish, see the gas, and he's going to know the Marine's coming out first. That's all he's really going to be able to see, because once that Marine comes out, he's going to be chased away. In fact, he's just going to go ahead and leave now.
Yeah, he just went up and checked the gas one last time. If a Terran goes for 16 gas, you can almost guarantee, or second 16 gas, you can almost guarantee that they're coming for really fast cloak Banshees or something like that. So it's good just to get that one last glimpse and then head home.
Looks like Inca's going to be skipping his first Zealot. The SCV is going to come in here and see that. Not only that, but of course see more importantly that Inca has taken his second gas. He's also going to want to check for the pylon positioning. You can see the first two. He's going to want to find that third one before he leaves.
Yeah, he actually doesn't see the pylon on the left quite yet, but he is going to circle around the base and try to get that last glimpse. The refinery for aLive is going down in a pretty standard timing for just a versatile build. He's not going for any super fast tech, but it gives him the option to get up the tech that he wants or to just get out the units that he needs to be able to expand or go for any sort of early pressure if he sees Inca going for a really aggressive economy opening.
Well, aLive is making a reactor. He's also got a factory finishing up here. So he's doing a tech build, obviously.
And the Stalker's actually going to be able to catch this SCV.
Yep.
It's really good for the Stalker to get. The SCV wanted to be there and just scout the timing of the expansion. That's why he was being hidden behind the mineral line. But that Stalker was very lucky and is going to get a raise today.
Going to get a raise. Stalkers don't get paid his salary. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard, Torch. They're actually, their lives are for ire, man.
Oh, man. I don't know if I can handle that.
Yeah, I couldn't handle that either.
I'm going to stick to the Terran race.
Going down the factory here. And we may see one of those timing pushes we saw yesterday, depending on what Inca does. Inca's, of course, making a Nexus back at home. So if aLive wants to, we can do that timing attack I was talking about yesterday where you get the Banshees, a ton of Marines out, and just a few tanks, not even necessarily with siege mode.
Yeah.
As you can see, there goes the tech lab down in the factory. We may see a timing attack like that end Inca if he doesn't prepare properly.
Yeah, we saw it being very powerful, winning most of the TVPs yesterday, because when Protoss is going for this expansion, they're investing so many minerals into it, and the Terran's able to get out a lot of units with the reactor on the barracks, and then get out the Banshee, possibly a Raven, and then the siege tanks for their really strong damage. Even if the Protoss player gets Immortals, they don't do all that much because the range doesn't allow them to get up to the siege tanks, which they do that damage to, when there's so many Marines in there beforehand.
A probe ran up the ramp for Inca, but he wasn't able to really see a whole lot. He wanted to see what he could see. He saw, of course, that there were a lot of Marines there. He knows the reactor is there. But he wasn't able to see the starport or the factory. Either way, not having robotics right now is really going to come back to bite Inca, especially because he's invested so much into these sentries, which are not going to do very well against the composition that's about to hit him from aLive. There's the robo going down.
That's one of the powers of this Terran build, is that even if there's a lot of sentries on the field to put down force fields, you've also got Banshees on the air, which the force fields don't do anything.
He almost lost the Stalker.
That would not be good. He needs to keep as many units alive as possible. The robotics facility is going down, but if the Terran player, aLive, moves out anytime soon, that robotics facility won't actually be useful.
Yeah, he's just going to attack now, I think.
Yeah, he's going to start to move off the second part of his army, the siege tank and 2 more Marines, meet that up with the rest of the Marines that he sent out there to try to kill that Stalker. With that, he should be able to do some relatively serious damage.
Yeah, the force fields are going to be okay, but remember that sentries just do not do very well against Marines unless the force fields are perfect. And of course, the siege tanks, there's going to be 2 of them when the attack hits. There's going to be a Banshee as well. He has started siege mode. Oh, second Banshee pops out. So he's going to have 2 tanks, about 15 Marines, and siege mode might be finished by the time he hits, depending on if he goes right at this moment or if he waits just a few more seconds.
Yeah. So we did see a Forge go up for Inca. With that, he does have the option to get photon cannons, but he doesn't have any pylons in a position to be able to defend. So this Banshee is going to try to do a little bit of economic damage, but mainly what it's trying to do is just keep the attention of Inca off the main army that's coming in the front. If Inca can see that it's coming, maybe he'll be able to respond somewhat, but...
Oh, man.
All the SCVs are coming.
Oh, man. I'm telling you guys, if you guys haven't played Paras in this situation, it is so hard to hold. I can't imagine him holding this. It's going to take a miracle, essentially. He's only got 4 Stalkers and 4 Sentries.
But he does see that it's coming. This Observer does see everything. The Stalkers are going to try to get in there and do a little bit of extra damage to those Banshees, but the thing is that with all those SCVs there, those Banshees can be healed up before the actual battle starts.
Plus, the SCVs can tank damage from the Zealots as well.
Of course. And we actually see a really nice defensive positioning by these siege tanks. aLive's not being too aggressive with this. He knows that once he gets within range of the Nexus, which he's doing right now, if he can take this Nexus down, he's in a huge lead if he doesn't win the game right now.
I think he just might win the game, but he is going to take the Nexus down for sure. The probes have to flee.
We do actually see a Dark Shrine coming up here for Inca, so what Inca's trying to do is just delay this army as long as possible so that he can get the Dark Shrine up and get the DTs warping in the back and just try to go for some sort of base trade.
See, those force fields are pretty good, but the problem is, once you use those force fields, if the Marines get back, then your Zealots actually take siege tank fire but don't actually do anything. And he's just going to keep poking forward, keep sieging up very safely. And Inca's army's kind of getting cornered here. He can't even really safely go up the ramp without taking damage. He is in a lot of trouble. The Banshee's just going to pick away at these Stalkers. When the Stalkers fall, there's going to be nothing left to deal with these Banshees. He is just doing whatever he can, and Inca's in a really tough spot.
Yeah, these Banshees are actually utilizing their mobility and just going above where the Stalkers can't hit them, running around, having the siege tanks hit and punish that army for moving where it doesn't want to go at that given time.
Oh man, he's going to siege up on the cliff.
But we have DTs warping in right now. Those DTs are going to be able to go into the base of aLive. aLive doesn't have any detection at the moment and no sort of Raven on the way. If the tech lab of the starport can be taken out, then it's going to be down to just scans, and we might be in a base trade situation.
Oh, absolutely, Torch. This is really exciting. The robo goes down. Here come the DTs, and does aLive realize what's going on? Even if he does, he doesn't have any units at home.
This is a very tense moment. The thing is that if the detection is not taken out for aLive, then the DTs
started
won't
a Raven
when the actual battle actually happens.
The DTs have to kill the starport. If they don't kill the starport, then Inca is going to lose. And all of the army of Inca being destroyed back at his main. The DT, though, doing a lot of damage. He needs to scan. There he goes, does scan.
But the next DT will actually be able to do a lot of damage if there's no more scans coming out here for aLive. But it doesn't matter because there's so much damage going on here from this Terran army. It's just doing...
He didn't kill the starport, and that's going to be it, man. The Raven's about to pop out.
The probes are being pulled to try to do damage to these Marines, but the thing is there's just so many Banshees on this field, and there's only one Stalker left to fight against them.
Yeah, that's it. The DT is still being annoying, but the Raven is out. He can kill that DT with an auto turret if he wanted to. And if the DTs are going to try to chase down the command center, which is actually burning, but it won't end up mattering because all of the buildings of Inca will die first. He only has those 3 pylons at the top base where he's warping the DTs. Actually, he's made a Nexus at the natural of aLive. this game could get pretty close if aLive doesn't do something about this command center very soon.
Yeah, the command center is actually burning down, so if that command center does die, then there's no way for aLive to continue making units. He does have a quite considerable army right now, but it might not be
he
enough
doesn't
for
have
aLive
any
hold on
money
for a
to
while.
repair. He's going to have to land the command center in order to repair it. This could get really weird. Inca does have that DT falling, but it will get taken out if it gets spotted. There it goes. Does
there
get
goes the
taken
first
out.
DT.
GG.
Oh, that was a little close. So Inca going for that normal fast one-gate expansion like these Protoss players are doing a lot now. aLive going for the counter that we see that worked out extremely well from the game of yesterday. But Inca trying to change it up a little bit and get out those DTs and go for some sort of counter attack with those. He did a lot of damage. He almost took down the command center, but it just wasn't enough because the army of the Terran player was just impossible for him to take out.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to hold that push. I can't stress you guys enough without Colossi. Because the Marines they just do too much damage, and the tanks are like the core of the army. So the tanks and the Banshees are both like two sides of the spectrum, but they both form the core, where you have to have enough Stalkers to deal with the Banshees. If you don't, you just die. But you want the Zealots to kill the Marines and the tanks, because the Zealots do really well against that. But if you make too many Zealots and the Banshees just kill everything, the tanks and the Marines just stay back, and the Banshees do damage. So it's like really hard to find this perfect composition. But if you have like one Colossi that can deal with those Marines and then start doing damage to the tanks as well, that's when things really start to change into your favor. And the fact of the matter is Inca just wasn't able to scout what was going on.
Yeah,
and if you don't make a robo...
If he'd scouted it, he would have had a chance. The issue is that he went for a one-gate expansion, was a very aggressive economy opening. And that gets punished by the build that aLive does. Just simple as that. There's a lot of different things that the Protoss player can do, but expanding is not one of them.
It's funny because this build was really popular back right after release and maybe a few months after that. Then it kind of fell out of popularity. You haven't seen it a lot in Korea.
Yep.
I see it on Taiwan server all the time when I ladder there. But when you see it in Korea, it's like, well, this is like an old school thing. People used to do this. Polt was actually the first person to do this, if I remember correctly. And it was like in GSL Open Season 1. And then everyone was doing it with the one Raven. And now it's like, you see it all the time again here in Korea. It's kind of surprising. Anyway, next up, we've got Keen versus Leenock. The map is going to be Crossfire, a map that a lot of Zergs find to be difficult to play on, simply because it's difficult to use melee units there. But the win rate for Zergs has actually been pretty good on this map, even so.
It's interesting because you do have those different paths, so the Zerglings can kind of run in and do some sort of run-by while the main army of the Terran's moving out. But if the Terran gets sieged up in the right position, they do have a lot of control of different areas. So we'll see if any of that comes into play in this game today, but there's also a lot of potentials for other things like Mutalisk harassment, because the natural mineral line is very open to an air attack. There's a lot of different options.
Yeah, Mutalisks are usually the best choice here because you can avoid that middle ground. You can catch tanks where it's very difficult for the tanks to move around while they're going through those little choke points, and so the Mutalisks can just find a spot where the tanks are stuck, pick them off, do things like that.
Leenock was actually spamming 24 from his numpad for some reason.
That's a little bit weird, man.
Maybe
cool guy. So is Keen. Both these guys, great players. Who's going to come out on top, though, at the GSL up and down matches? Let's find out. I am Wolf. Are they going to say, and I am Torch?
I know.
He is Torch. He didn't do it. He just wanted to mess with me. We're going to jump into the game now.